All right, and welcome back. So today we are going to be starting on chapter 2, where we're talking about section 2.1, which is all about graphing and writing inequalities. So without further ado, let's begin. So let's talk about how we're going to be describing solutions of inequalities. We're soon going to be working out how we're going to find solutions and calculate solutions. Let's just talk about how we describe different solutions. This is going to be the first example within your note sheet. So in here it says describe the solutions of x plus 2 is less than 6. So we're going to choose different values for x and be sure to choose a positive and negative values as well as 0. Personally, I like to do 2 positives, 2 negatives, and 0 unless it is completely obvious that it is going to be always positive or always negative. Or it's only going to be 0, but that rarely happens. So I like to use 2 positives, 2 negatives, and 0. This example goes through something a bit different, but we are going to be working through it together. So after you choose those values of x, we're now going to substitute them in to see if we get a true or a false statement. This has been done as your first example. So as we can see, we let x be equal to 0, and we received a true statement. We said, hey, what if x is 2? We received a true statement. If x was negative 4, we received a true statement. If x was 5, we received a false statement. If x was 4, we received a false statement because 6 is not less than 6. 6 is less than or equal to 6, but in our inequality that we're starting out with to describe the solutions, 6 is not less than 6. If we had x be 3, we get a true statement. If we had x be 3.5, we get a true statement. So what we're going to do is we're now going to plot those points on a number line. We're going to use t to label points that make the inequality true. We're going to use f to label points that make the inequality false. So a number line has been provided, and we're going to see, hey, we have all these t values to the left of 4, and f and further out going to the right of numbers greater than 4. So what we're going to do is we're going to look for the point at which those true statements turn to false statements. And again, that is 4. We see numbers less than 4 make the statement true. The solutions are all real numbers that are less than 4. Awesome. With this in mind, please work on problems 1 and 2 on your note sheet, and then resume the video when you are ready to move forward. All right, if you're listening to my voice, that means that you have worked on problems 1 and 2 and you're ready to move forward. So here we go. Let's describe solutions of each inequality in words. So let's say we have the inequality x is greater than 3. Well, we want to describe the solutions of this inequality. We want to say, hey, what values of x make this a true statement if we plug them in, right? If we plugged in 5, well, 5 is greater than 3. If we plugged in 6, and 6 is greater than 3. We plugged in 0, 0 is not greater than 3. We use 3, 3 is not greater than 3. So the description of the solutions would be all real numbers greater than 3. Awesome. What about this one here? We have y plus 2 is less than or equal to 6. Let's talk about how we would find this. Well, if we start to substitute numbers in, let's use 0. Well, we substitute that in, we get 2 is less than or equal to 6. That's true. If we use 1, we get a true statement. If we use 2, we get a true statement. We use 4, we still get a true statement because 6 is less than or equal to 6. If I use 5, that's now a false statement. I use 6, that's now a false statement. 7 is now a false statement. So our turning point was at 4. So it's going to be all real numbers less than or equal to 4. Because anything greater than 4 is going to yield a false statement. Any number less than or equal to 4 provides a true statement because we do have this or equal to in our inequality symbol. Please work on problems 3 and 4 on your note sheet and press play when you are ready to move on. All right, so if you're hearing my voice, that means you are ready to move on and work on how to graph our inequalities. Well, when we graph our inequalities, let's use an example that is provided for you. X is less than or equal to 3. Notice that it's less than or equal to 3. There is a difference between less than and less than or equal to. Well, we're going to have a number line, and we're going to draw a circle on that number line that's representing the solution. So if you notice, we have x is less than or equal to 3. So now we have this circle or a dot or some kind of symbol indicating that we're talking and comparing about 3. Once you draw that circle, we need to decide whether we're filling it in or leaving it open. The way that we do that is if it's greater or less than, we leave it empty because we cannot include the number in comparison for our answer. If it's greater than or equal to or less than or equal to, we're going to fill it in. In this case, we have a less than or equal to, so we're going to fill in that circle because 3 can be a solution. After that, we're going to draw an arrow in the direction of our solutions. In this case, it's a less than or equal to, so we draw an arrow to the left. If it was greater or greater than or equal to, we draw an arrow to the right. Notice how when we talk about comparing, we have x is less than or equal to 3. It's our variable, inequality sign, number. Variable on the left, inequality sign in the middle, and then your number of comparison on the right. If you always have your variable on the left within your inequality statement, then this will provide a helpful way to do it. If it's less than or equal to, you go to the left. They all start with L, right? So if your variable, inequality, number, if it's a less than or equal to, you shade to the left. If it's a greater than or equal to, you shade to the right. Greater with an R, you then go to the right. Hopefully that helps you out. So with this, please work on problems 5 and 6 that are on the note sheet and resume when you are ready to move forward. All right, here's our last set of problems. Let's talk about how we're going to write inequalities given a graph. So let's say we are given this graph here. We now need to do the opposite of what we just did. We want to be given a graph and then take it back to write an inequality. Well, to do that, we're going to write a variable and the number that we are comparing it to. So we are comparing -4. So it's going to be our variable. I like to use x. If you like to use y, that's fine. You can use any variable you want, but traditionally we do use the letter x. And we're going to be comparing it to -4. So it'd be x is question mark to -4 because we want to see, hey, is it greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, or less than or equal to? And we want to fill in that question mark. We're going to look at the direction of our arrow. If we notice, we're starting at -4 and we're going to the right. We're shading to the right. So if the arrow points to the left, we're going to be using less than or equal to. If it's pointing to the right, we're going to be using a greater than or equal to. And again, we're going to the right-hand side where our numbers are rising, where our numbers are getting bigger and greater. So we're going to be using a greater than or equal to -4. But now we need to decide if it's going to be if it's an open circle or a closed circle to determine if it's a greater than or equal to. Well, if it's empty, we're going to be using the greater or less. If it's filled in, it's going to be the greater than or equal to or the less than or equal to. Therefore, this -4 is open. It's not shaded in, which means it's going to be a greater than symbol. So our final answer would be x is greater than -4. All right, folks, please work on problems 7 and 8 on the note sheet. You are doing really well. If you have any questions, please leave them at the end of this video. Other than that, great job, folks.